Welcome back, everybody. I'm Brad.
I'm Steve.
Another Mead.
Another dollar.
Second tasting of the cherry.
Yes.
This was first made on 8/22/2015, so it's a little bit older.
Yeah.
7 months.
Yep.
Something like that. Um, Again, this used USO5 yeast.
Okay, so kind of a dry yeast for beer, or very neutral yeast
Right.
for beer.
Yep.
Which, how did that work out for you with the amount of sugar that's in a honey?
I dumped the whole thing in there. I did the staggered nutrients just like I normally did. If you go back and look at our other video, our first video on this tasting, it was great.
Mm-hmm.
But I can say, and I think you can say, in here, this thing's got darker.
Yeah.
I mean, in the glass, in the shot glass, you can see through it, but you used to be able to see through this.
Yeah.
And no way.
Yeah. It's almost like a dark liqueur now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So, hopefully it's better.
Yep. Let's give it a smell.
Honey.
Yep.
I'm not smelling any cherries. Maybe a little bit of alcohol.
Yeah. It's you know what? But on your last mead too, it was a little you couldn't tell what was going on. So we'll see what.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting cherry. Maybe a tiny, tiny bit.
It's yeah. I mean, I think the honey, the sweetness is still there.
Yeah.
Which, you know, with a mead, some people like a dry mead. I don't know if I would like a dry mead. I've never had one.
Right.
Because when you think honey, you think sweet. But the cherry, yeah, I can taste the cherry a little bit. It's not as pronounced as it was.
Right. I think, if anything, I would want more cherry. Like, to me, still the honey now, I should say, because I think before when we tasted it, it was perfect.
Mm.
It's like we should have drank the whole 1 gallon right then.
All right.
But now I think the honey is overpowered most of the cherry.
Sure.
But again, for me, all these meads that I made, this is the first time I've made mead. Technically, the first time I've drank meads. I've never had a commercial mead. So going by this, it's too sweet. I need more cherry to come through.
You need a little drier, a little more cherry. And I wonder if the USO5 maybe stalled out because of the alcohol content,
Right.
or the sugar content, I should say, and both, actually.
Yep.
And didn't ferment down to a level that we wanted. So that's one of the things I'm kind of curious with the experiments that you've done, because I haven't started mead yet, and I want to, is what yeast is the best to use, because we've tasted 2 varieties now, and like you said, this is maybe a little too sweet,
Right.
and to me that means we didn't ferment down to a level that we wanted.
Correct.
Not that it's the yeast fault, it's just maybe we didn't select the right one. I don't
Right.
know. But in all in all, I'd drink it. I mean, it's
Well,
good.
right, but and I'm not saying I'm a yeast or mead expert. Because this is in secondary, can I get another USO5 pack, pour it in here, and drop it further? Because the other bad thing, I guess, about this is I have no clue what the original gravity was, what the final gravity was when it got into secondary. Who knows?
Yeah, and that's the tough part, right? Because we don't have good measurements, we have no idea where we started, where
Right.
we ended, where we could go. I really don't think if you dumped another packet of yeast in there, it would do much, just because of the alcohol content. And
You would need like
I'm
a
guessing,
gallon starter.
right? Yeah, right. I'm guessing only because of the fact that when you taste it, you can tell there's some alcohol in there, and obviously a lot of residual sweetness. So I don't know if USO5 is good to do that. Maybe dumping a different one in. I don't know. I don't know.
I think
you're only going to lose that much if you try it. So
yeah, and I think with all of them, because obviously all these ones that I made were last year's batch.
Yeah.
I think if I make another 4 or 5 this year, I will take the gravity readings so we know where it's at, and maybe look to see if I can do something different, because the one big thing that I keep seeing is the staggered nutrients, and I did it on every single one. I mean, it was 4, 5, 6 days of adding small amounts of nutrients so those yeasts could keep going. And we know in beer, if you put honey in beer, that yeast is going to eat that first.
Yep.
And obviously, when you're doing a mead, that yeast isn't going to eat that honey first.
Yeah. If I were you, I'd just accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
And then just say, okay, I mean, you really don't even have a gallon here.
Right.
You've got, 2/3 of a gallon.
Right.
And just say, it is what it is. We're going to drink this.
Yep.
And then next time we're going to do something different and see what happens.
And I think we're going to be doing reviews on this for 2-3 years.
I'd be fine with that, yeah.
It'd
be
just
interesting
to see.
Yeah.
Yep. How far it goes.
Absolutely, because I think over time we want to step this up to a bigger quantity. We have access to honey here at a reasonable price,
right.
And it'd be fun to do a 5-gallon batch, but we want to make sure we nail down exactly what flavor we're looking for,
right?
And before we invest that money and decide that
one 5-gallon batch,
Yeah.
Well,
dumping out a batch of beer way cheaper than dumping out a batch of this. So.
Well, because also you're going to take up a 5-gallon carboy for a year.
At least, yeah.
So you also have to look at that. If you have only 2 5-gallon carboys, you're going to take this into one of those.
Yeah, that's a long time for one carboy. So
yeah.
You're absolutely right. I've done it before with ciders, not on purpose, just never got around to kegging it. So it's doable, but you're right, it is definitely difficult when you're sitting around there going, oh man, I just brewed this, I got to get rid of it, I don't have time to bottle or keg it, I need to brew something else.
Right.
Where am I going to put it? So.
Or you just brew a whole bunch of beers that don't need a secondary and just go directly into keg.
There you go. You can do that too.
But so far so good. Cherry flavor really isn't where we want it.
Right.
It is 7 months old.
Yep.
So it technically is still young.
Yeah. In mead time.
Yep. So until next time, I'm Brad.
I'm Steve.
Happy brewing.
See you next time.